right. Well, welcome back to the Green Burial Chronicles with Morgan Oaks. So I'm super excited today. We have the fabulous, the wonderful Steve Morgan. And for those of you that are like, who the heck is Steve Morgan? You guys, we are in for a treat today because we are with the co-founder himself, Steve Morgan. So a couple of things. I want to give you some professional, personal background, a fun fact about him. And then I'm going to let him tell you like the question I get all the time, Steve, and I'll come back to this after I introduce you, but like people just want to know, like, how does this even happen? How did we get here? And so a couple fun facts about Steve. So like I said, he's the co-founder of Morgan Oaks Eternal Preserve. So we are owned by a company called Wildlands, and he spent 30 years developing wildlife habitat and endangered species protection, which is called in the industry mitigation banking. And so that's kind of how we got our wildlife preserve and our green burial together. So there's that. Today, he really wants people to know like the concept, the benefits of green burial versus a conventional burial. So we'll talk about that. And then little fun fact, I thought this was really cool. So Steve started his career as a commercial pilot. So I didn't even know that. And he said he went on to notice and realize, you know what, honestly, I'm nothing more than a glorified taxi driver, but in the air. And so he said the entrepreneurial world was calling his name. And so he went with it. So welcome, Steve. I'm so honored to have you here. To know you is to love you. And so I'm excited to interview you and walk through this. So our first question, this is it. What inspired you to start Morgan Oaks Eternal Preserve?
First, thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Actually, I think you summarized it in your opening. My love of the land
Okay.
and the outdoors. The concept is unique for a preservation standpoint.
Yep.
So it's just kind of an extension of what I've done for 30 years.
So I'm going to ask this off the cuff, but I mean, you were just laying in bed one day and woke up and said, oh my gosh, I want to start green burial? Or like, was this something that you had kind of been thinking about for years?
Actually, it was by accident.
Okay.
Aside from our outdoor preservation and enhancement, we had a farm manager that was managing a walnut farm we had on the Sacramento River.
Okay.
And we had a little section of the landscape that was very pristine and beautiful.
Okay.
And he said one day, we should have a green burial cemetery.
Okay.
And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, it's quite popular in the United Kingdom. It's been going on for years.
Okay.
And just that little hint inspired me to look into it. I spent years studying it before we, in essence, pulled the trigger to start.
I love that. Crazy, right? What a little nugget could do to then start an inspiration down the road, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was the biggest challenge so far, we'll say, in establishing a green burial cemetery?
I think it was the concept of pioneering something that is not in one's normal mindset.
Yes.
And that leads from a permitting standpoint when you're dealing with local jurisdictions,
Yep.
state governments, local governments. You want to do a cemetery. Cemeteries in itself are very challenging,
Yeah.
let alone a natural burial cemetery.
Yeah.
So the naivety of information and knowledge about it took years to solidify interest and get to where we are.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from someone who didn't even ever think about a green burial or, no one wants to talk about that, I can't imagine the process and the permitting. And now we're finding some of the biggest challenges are getting people to talk about death, from this point on. We've got it permitted. You did the hard work. So thank you for letting me come in when it's getting easier. But now it's just like changing people's mindset and helping them educate. So that's why we do the podcast is we're going to educate people on what this is. This is a fun one. The location. What made you choose that location, Lincoln, the property, whatever?
Well, through my course of learning about the industry in itself, I spent a lot of time traveling throughout the United States.
Okay.
I did quite a bit of traveling on the East Coast, Southwest, interviewing people that had their foot in the industry, either successfully started or looking to start. And I actually looked at sites in Tennessee to purchase. I looked at one in New Mexico.
Yep.
I looked at Catalina Island.
Oh, yeah.
So I looked at a variety of it, soon realized that because it's a startup business and we needed to be close and have our hands on the pulse of the business
Smart.
so we could learn ourselves as we progress.
Got it. Well, I mean, we could always revisit Catalina Island. I mean, I'm willing to sacrifice myself if you need me to go back there. So I'm grateful you chose Lincoln to start, but should we want to venture off, right? Okay. So personally, what does Morgan Oaks mean to you?
Means an opportunity to share the outdoors and the love of the outdoors with all the local customers and the local citizens, whether they're a customer of the Morgan Oaks or just local community.
Yeah.
We open our doors for the full enjoyment of the project.
Yeah. Everything. I love that. And I mean, you have family there.
I have my mother and father were transferred there.
Yep.
I have my father-in-law and my brother both
Yeah.
since
So
we've opened up. So it's a real meaningful location for our
it
family
is.
as well.
It is. I love to visit your family. They're in the back and they're in the perfect spot. You can adopt me and place me back there when you're ready.
You got a
But
deal.
I do think when you have someone laid to rest there, it becomes even more personal, right? Like the vision was for you to love it and open it to the community, and our neighbors love us. Like we're great neighbors. We're very quiet. But when you have someone laid to rest, I think it just means more too. So
I
I
think
love that.
those who have an opportunity to experience laying a loved one to rest at the site says it all.
It does.
It says it all.
Yeah.
I know it was very special for me when my brother passed away with COVID
Mm-hmm.
to be able to
Yeah. Put him somewhere special. No, you're good.
gravitates to the heart.
Yeah.
But we hooked up a mule carriage,
Mm.
put my brother in the back of the wagon, promenaded to the back of the cemetery, and everybody walking peacefully. It's just a very, very serene, touching feeling.
It is. I was
The
there that day.
peace and harmony.
I love it. And I know it means a lot to you. And so that's why it means so much to us. Our listeners love it. And you've created something so beautiful. And so, as we get more people involved, I know that they're so grateful for you. So, why do you think that green burials are important? Outside of being peaceful and serene, why do you think they're important?
What's interesting, green burials have been taking place for hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until the Civil War where we changed the handling of the deceased,
Interesting, right?
embalming the soldiers to get them delivered back home to their local communities to put them to rest.
Yeah.
That's how that whole thing started with the transformation.
Yeah.
And then with the assassination of Abe Lincoln, they decided to promenade his body and they developed an ornate casket, something of showy presence, and promenaded up and down the streets for days. So that whole industry started evolving into a different approach. And it's very costly environmentally on some of the techniques that we've adapted.
Yes.
The hardwood caskets.
Yep.
We cut down hardwood forests to the tune of 35,000 board feet a year
Yep.
go into the making of hardwood caskets. The concrete vaults that
Yep.
the caskets are placed in. There's enough concrete every year to pave a highway from San Francisco to Phoenix.
Oh my gosh.
So that's an incredible amount of contamination going into the
Yeah.
earth, not to mention the embalming fluids
Yep.
are poisonous not only to and handling and embalming for the people that are doing it, but leaching into the landscape and the ground. So it just doesn't make any environmental sense to go through all that when you can have something so simply beautiful by laying a body to rest in a biodegradable casket or a shroud.
Yeah.
And let that nature take its course.
It's crazy. I've even heard now, Steve, that some cemeteries are vaulting with plastic. I mean, we won't even put a straw in the water, but now we're vaulting.
I
We're
know.
vaulting. It's crazy. And I just don't think that the world is educated on how much toxins go back into the earth. And so when a company like Wildlands comes in and that is their purpose is to take care of the land and animals and wildlife, this makes sense, but people aren't educated. They just know what they know, and that is you pay an ungodly amount of money to lay someone to rest. I call it your wedding for your death. You know, I mean, you're going to pay for a wedding sooner than later, and so you'll see you can try to do it cheap, but it just keeps adding up.
Now, and green burial is historically about 1/3 of the cost of traditional burials today.
Yeah,
And that money goes a long way to the average family.
it
It's savings
does.
and meaning. And if they want to put money into legacy, put it into a contribution for a nonprofit or health reasons or
Yes.
American Cancer Society or the youth.
Something, not a casket that's
Not the
going to go in the
casket that's going in the
ground.
ground and cover it up forever and you can't see it.
It's wild.
So it really makes a lot of sense.
It does. It does. Thank goodness you were brilliant. And all the listeners, you didn't know you were going to get a history lesson today, but that Civil War fact is crazy. So I've been doing some lessons and who I didn't know. I think people keep calling green burial new and it's this new trend. And it's like, no, it's not a new trend.
It's
This
been
was
it's been there for years.
forever, you guys. So I love that. What do you want or hope people take away when they visit Morgan Oaks? What do you want them to go away with?
I want them to feel this sense of peace and serenity
Mm-hmm.
that the site offers.
Yeah.
It has such a silent romance about it,
Mm.
walking around the trail systems, watching the wildlife,
Mm-hmm.
the peace, the quiet, the landscape, the sunrises, the sunsets.
Yep.
It's just endless on what feelings you can walk away with on the site.
Yeah. I love that. I was there on Saturday, this last Saturday, so early March. And it was the middle of the day, and my dad is laid to rest there. And I have a memorial tree for my dad or my brother. And it was the middle of the day, and it was so peaceful, so quiet. And Steve mentioned our walking trails. So we have 3 miles of walking trails. And you know what? I threw on my rucksack and I just walked the trails. And it is the most peaceful, beautiful. My mom texted me and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm sitting, I'm walking the property." And then I was sitting at we have a fire pit too for the listeners, a fire pit celebration of life. But I just sat there, Steve, with my feet up. And I just thought, like, there is nowhere better than this. And I thanked my dad for just allowing me to lay him to rest there. And you, of course, for finding it. But it's unlike anything I've ever seen.
No, it's really wonderful.
It's beautiful. And so it gives me peace having my dad there.
And as you know, in the interment, we don't allow vertical tombstones.
Right.
So when you're looking at the landscape, you're seeing it as it naturally is. It's not a irrigated park. It's no mow and blow. It's
No.
all natural habitat. We do have the tree memorials where we plant additional trees on behalf of the families and
Yeah.
loved ones.
Yep.
But it's all a natural landscape.
Yeah.
And people who experience that, most people never get a chance to walk a natural landscape that's protected in perpetuity.
Crazy, right? And you can do it right here in Lincoln, California, Placer County, your own backyard. Okay.